Yes.
Okay.
So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thanks for joining Bhagavad Gita class. And I think we stopped at chapter 3 and verse 6. Um, I don't know if any of you remember or not. We'll move on to verse 7. So, what happened was last time, it didn't get recorded, so we lost it. So maybe we'll start, just briefly, we'll start from the verse 1, okay, chapter 3. So, Karma, I have really bad sore throat, and I would like you all to read in turns. Take turns and please read when I tell. So, chapter 3 is Karma Yoga. So, first chapter was observing the armies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the chapter 2 was contents of the Gita summarized. So, Krishna gave the glimpse of everything: Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga, everything in like in a nutshell, he gave in chapter 2. So, in Karma Yoga, Krishna will lead Arjuna towards Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay, so Karma Yoga are different types. So, Karma Kanda, when one performs, it's more like in a selfish manner, self centric focus. And Karma, Nishkama Karma is where you get to experience the detachment and then move forward spiritually also. But karma kanda is more like materialistic than anything else. So they want to enjoy, they want to go to swargaloga. They don't have that much knowledge about spiritual world. They think swargaloga is the spiritual world, and they think they would not come back again here, but it's all wrong, correct? Because apparently there are 14 planetary systems, and all 14 planetary system in each universe are material planets, because it is material world, it's a material universe. How do we expect, and the Swargaloka is one of the planetary systems, so how do we expect that could be spiritual, within the material realm? How one of them could be spiritual, correct? So it's all material planets only, a material planet in the material universe. So Arjuna in the chapter 2 was told by Krishna about jnana yoga, means renunciation, how renunciation is good, situating yourself in fixed consciousness, siddha pragya. So when you are situated yourself, you're fixed in your consciousness, then you can focus on your spiritual path and progress further. So this kind of knowledge is more like becoming a renunciate, a jnana yogi, etc. And whereas buddhi yoga is more like becoming bhakti yogi. Actually, buddhi yogi means using your buddhi, you progress in your spiritual life. So whatever yoga type that we choose in the yoga ladder, it is leading to bhakti only, right? So Arjuna was confused whether, okay, Krishna, you told about the Rajnana yoga and also you said about action. That means karma yoga. Action means karma yoga. So should I become a jnani or karma yogi? So he was more or less confused. But also Arjuna got confused about, Krishna is talking about jnana yoga. That means you need to be very renunciate, detached. Jnana yogi, how he would be like very saintly, etc. And then Krishna also talking about fight. So these two information are contradictory. So I'm telling you to read Bhagavad Gita, and then I'm telling you reading Bhagavad Gita will confuse you. Then you will be like you're confused yourself. So okay, are you suggesting I should read or not read? Okay, like that Arjuna was confused about, should I become a renunciate or do engage in action? But I don't want to engage in this ghastly warfare. I don't want to kill people. I don't want that kind of the what do you call the position of killing my own kinsmen and then getting a position. I don't want that. Even if I win all three worlds, I still don't want that. So that was Arjuna's detachment already. So he doesn't have to become a jnani yogi or anything to become detached from this material world or material opulence. But Arjuna was already detached naturally because of he is a devotee of the Lord, right? That's why he was naturally detached. See, devotees of the Lord are not worried about when the opulence come, material opulence come and go. They are not disturbed. Like we discussed also in chapter 2, I think. If there is an ocean and when the river comes and merges in the ocean, there will be agitation, right? Something comes and touches, there will be agitation. But because ocean is so broad and wide, this tiny bit of river coming and merging into the ocean will not agitate. It stays still. So that is exactly how our sadhana should be by practicing Krishna consciousness nicely every day, chanting, etc. When we do that, whatever the storm comes towards us, any problem or any issues, any health problems or financial problems or emotional, mental, whatever problem that comes in our life, we stay still because we know Krishna is with us, and without his approval nothing comes to us. Please remember, whatever that comes, the problem comes to you, even though you are chanting, even though you have faith in Krishna, still the problem comes means it's one main reason, that is Krishna wants you to come closer to him. Okay, because whatever sadhana we are doing is not sufficient, so he will screw. Sometimes the toy you screw when we were children, like when we were small, we used to have the little toys that you screw and then keep dancing or drumming or whatever, and then it stops, then again you screw. Like that, you get excited, do chanting nicely, hearing and reading, and then your battery slows down for some reason. Maybe you're tired of doing the same thing again and again, or you're not interested anymore, mainly because you don't have enough association of devotees. So whatever reasons, then we need to screw it again. Then again you'll start getting that excitement, enthusiasm, and continue do what you're doing. So like that, Krishna does that, giving you some little bit of screws now and then. It's necessary. Don't think, oh, Krishna being very personal. But it is absolutely necessary for us because we just tend to forget him quickly. Because when our life is going very smoothly, why someone has to worry about Krishna? Krishna is always worrying about us. But when we are very happy and very busy, our life is going so good, no problems, everything planned, pakka, going well. And where is Krishna? Oh, I'm chanting. But are you connecting? No, I'm just chanting. That's all. No, there should be a connection. There should be an emotional feeling between you and Krishna when we chant. We should feel that we miss Krishna. Sometimes we should feel that we are with Krishna. Sometimes we feel like, wow, Krishna, it's your mercy you did this. I wanted to ask you, but you already did it for me. Thank you so much. So constantly Krishna will keep coming in your thoughts and your life, and you cannot forget him. That's how the tricky guy Krishna is. You want to make sure you always remember him. For that he will make things in your life now and then, like a hero. Hero sometimes in front of heroine, he comes and does some fight with the villains, or sometimes he picks flowers and give it to heroine. Sometimes he make cooks and show off to the lover. Like this, constantly Krishna is trying to do something with us, trying to give us something or the other all the time, so that you can look at him, so that you can come closer to him. This is exactly what he is doing. But what we are doing, when he gives flower, we take it and say, wow, that's so lovely, and then we go away. And then we give some present, we take it, very nice, thank you, you're very kind, and then go away. And then he makes some sweet or some nice cook, he cooks nicely and give it to us, and we eat and then go away. No, but we need to come closer to him. How about we serve him all that? How about we offer him nice flower, we cook for him, we give him some presents for no reason. We should do all that. Think about Krishna always. So text one, Arjuna was asking about what should I do? Whether I should do renunciation or fighting. Hmm? So that's first verse, and then second text is, my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So that again the same thing. Text one and two meaning same. So text three. I'll go into the verse. Can someone read the translation, please?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I've already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by uh, empirical, philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service.
Yeah. See, some people might think, okay, if I detach myself from the material world, I will get liberated. But the truth is, it's not about what you are doing; it's about what your consciousness is doing. So when our consciousness is very fixed in Krishna, then you're already liberated. You don't have to become a jnani or any kind of yogi because you have already become bhakti yogi. Okay, so here the two kinds of people is jnana yoga and karma yoga practitioners. Okay, karma yoga is good when you use your buddhi and mix with the buddhi yoga and practice Krishna consciousness. Then karma yoga is the best. Karma yoga, even in karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga is the best because you're detaching yourself from this results also, fruitive results also. That's more important because we are always attached. We sometimes get attached to the activity itself or the result. For example, let's say I become a manager of the company, so I become very attached to the position, the manager itself. Okay, and the results, it gives me fame, money, like more money, allowance, car, house, something like that. I'm attached to all those paraphernalia also. So when I'm attached to either of them or both of them, then I'm entangled. So I have to take repeated birth again and again. So when we are not attached to the position or the result, then we are liberated already. Hmm? Like at least in Nishkama Karma stage. So next one. Can someone please read the translation?
Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
Yeah. So that's what we discussed, right? So we think, okay, let me renunciate myself from being a grahasta, that means in the family life or in a work. I'm not going to do any of those, so I'm just withdrawing myself from those responsibilities. If I think and do that way, is it purificatory process? Huh? Will I achieve liberation? No way. See, we need to go through the Vaidya Sadhana Bhakti. That what we are doing right now is chanting Hare Krishna daily. As a discipline, matter of discipline, we need to make sure we keep ourselves a lot, kind of uh, like introspecting us, like every day, are we chanting nicely, are we connecting to Krishna? If not in the first word, second word, trying to connect with him, or third word or fourth word, and we try to repeat ourselves by doing this exercise. Because see, calling one's name with love should be natural, but what we are right now doing is not so natural, even though it is supposed to be natural. But you're calling Krishna's name, but as a matter of duty. Hmm? So, say if you're calling your child, your favorite child's name with love, with emotion, with so much, that connection, you're calling, and he comes because he knows the sound. So what sound means what? Whether it's angry calling or love calling. So the child knows, right? Because it's your child. And when we chant Krishna's name, he knows whether you're just doing it as a matter of fact, matter of duty, or you're doing it with love. He comes and he connects. So he always comes, but unfortunately, we are not connecting back with him. That's another thing. Okay. So here, this last line is very nice, which is Swalpam abhyashya dharmashya trayate mahato bhayat. So even if you have slight performance of this bhakti path, okay, you have done only slight bhakti activity, like or one day only you offered tulasi in your entire lifetime. That's enough. You entered into the spiritual journey, so Krishna will take care of the rest, and it is enough to overcome all the other great difficulties. So that's how powerful it is, the bhakti. You don't have to do millions of years. You can, even within a second, you can become perfect in bhakti. So we already discussed King Katwanga. He was a great king. He was going to die in 40 minutes, 45 minutes, one muhurta, and he was told by Indra that okay, you'll die in one muhurta. Then he surrendered to Krishna and he went to spiritual world. That's it. So for us, we take birth again and again and again because we didn't have full connection, full faith, full conviction, full surrender. When we do have that, then we also can go back. So next verse, can anyone please read this verse? Translation.
Everyone is
Everyone is
forced. Oh, please, you can.
Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for.
Yeah. So So premature renunciation is not going to help, because Arjuna's point was, okay, I become renunciate and I go live by begging in the forest. I don't want to be engaged in this costly warfare. But because he is avoiding his duty, that is actually a sin. Avoiding one's duty is a sin, even though. But if it is, you are avoiding the duty because Krishna asked you to do, then it is not a sin. But you are avoiding the duty just because of your material bodily conception of life. I'm connected with him, bodily identification. I'm connected with him because he's my maternal uncle, he's my maternal cousin, he's my paternal brother, like something like that. So these kind of identification only makes us think, um, uh, we are this body. So, according to three modes of material nature, we are always forced to act this way or that way. Like if you're in mode of goodness, you act nicely. If you're in mode of passion, you'll be very working hard and you're very too much. In fact, too much hard work there. And if you're in mode of ignorance, you're just don't you're like like in the position where you don't care about anything. You're dull. You're lazy. You're tired. You're eating unhealthy food, so like that. So these things will add up, right? So according to these qualities, you act because you're forced to act that way. So if you wanted to renounce from this life, material life, and go to the forest and practice yoga or anything like that, meditation, remember Arjuna, even you can't do it even for a moment because your nature is different. You're a kshatriya, your nature is different, and you like to go now, but then you'll come back because you can't stay in that same position because that's not your job. Just sitting and meditating is not natural for you. So getting the sword and fighting against your enemies is what qualities you have. That is your quality. So Arjuna was still in the ignorance, but again we need to remember Arjuna was put under this ignorance for the sake of giving us the knowledge, Bhagavad Gita. So he was used as a medium. Okay, we shouldn't under what do you say underestimate the position of Arjuna. thinking, oh, he is in ignorance, absolute ignorance. No, he was just temporarily put in the ignorance. So the soul is always active. If you want to sit down and do nothing, you can't do nothing. Sometimes people say, oh, you sit down and do nothing. You can't. That is meditation. They say sit down, do nothing, and you think something. You probably hear something, but it's okay. It's a good practice to calm our mind to sit and do nothing. That's a good practice. But still, you're not doing nothing. You will be doing something. Hmm? So your body organs are working and your eyes blinking, ears hearing, and everything. It's all happening. It's not that you're totally like off, turned off, switched off. No, it's not possible. That's the point Krishna is making here. So next verse. Can someone read the translation, please?
One who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender.
So especially in India, we see a lot of bogus gurus, right? So sannyasis, in the name of sannyasis, they do a lot of cheating activities. They do show bottle business. That's what Srila Prabhupada would tell in this purport. Show bottle spiritualists, they make a show of yogic meditation which is of no value. And what they should understand the following. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. See, if I am a grahastha, I need to follow what I am supposed to do as a grahastha. If I am a brahmachari, then I have to follow brahmachari or brahmacharini. I have to follow what is in my order, social status. According to that, if I follow, it will gradually elevate me, purify my consciousness gradually. So, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and brahmana, vaishya, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, and sudra, brahmachari, grahastha, vanprastha, and sannyas. These are the orders, right? So if you're in this order, if you're a grahastha and you're a vaishya also, vaishya grahastha or brahmana grahastha, sudra grahastha, like that is a combination as well. According to that status, you act. You don't need to imitate others. That's what Krishna is telling to Arjuna. You don't need to pretend that you're like brahmana, so you want to forgive everyone and just go. No, you're a kshatriya. Do just act as a kshatriya. So even you go and follow that process, yogic process, practice if you want to do it. Because of your nature, you'll come back. So Krishna will also tell, instead of doing someone else's job perfectly, do your job with a lot of mistake. It's all right. Okay, so just stick to your natural duty only. Don't copy. Don't imitate anyone else's. But how do we know what is my nature? What is my duty? You will know. You will know when you do things you like something and you don't like something. So that is your nature. Okay, next verse. Seventh verse. Can somebody read, please?
On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior.
Yeah. So here we have to follow some process to see, if you want to control something, you need to follow some process, right? Some practice. Otherwise, you can't just control. So controlling the active senses, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. So Krishna is comparing the cheaters, pretenders, with someone who follows Krishna consciousness. So someone who follows Krishna consciousness, hmm, if he is sincere, okay, and he's trying to control it, but the so-called yogis, they say, I'm controlling the mind, I'm controlling the senses. But behind the doors, they do all type of nasty things, correct? So all abominable activities they get engaged in. So that is so cheap. Hmm? And whereas on the other hand, when a Krishna conscious person who's simply working, he's not saying that, oh, I withdraw myself from the material opulence, I am not doing work, I don't need money, I'm happy like this, Atmaram. He's not saying all that like the other guy. He's just doing his work, but without attachment. Then he is far superior. So live a controlled life based on sastra. See, control, like, how do you control your life? How do you control your mind and senses? You follow something, you practice something, right? That something is here. We have to practice Bhagavad Gita, okay? Because in Bhagavad Gita everything is covered. What do you do when you're angry? What should you do when you feel lusty? What should you do when you're maddened or illusioned? What should you do when you are so proud? Everything is answered. Not just that, but more than that, the life. What should I do in my life or not do in my life? What is that goal that I wanted to achieve? So everything is there. It's like a package for one's personality development. But we just go outside, external, and to go to companies and prepare ourselves for personality development and things like that. But the personality development is already in Bhagavad Gita. Why do we have to worry about all that? Okay. So one line that Prabhupada mentions, which is a very popular line in this verse in the Prabhupada, the charlatan, sincere sweeper is better than charlatan meditator who adopts the show bottle spiritualism to cheat innocent publics. Externals are not important in Varnashram. In Shudra, who is considered as low class, can be a devotee. In fact, first class devotee. Narada Muni was a Shudra when he was born. Okay, in the previous life. And Yamaraj came to material world in Dwapara Yuga, took birth as Vidura, younger brother of this Dhritarashtra. So he was born to a Shudra Rani. So, but they were top class devotees. So it's not about, and even Haridas Thakur, who is the Nam Acharya, he chants like 3 lakhs chanting Hare Krishna every day, and he wouldn't do anything until he finishes. He wouldn't do anything else. So he was a Muslim. A Muslim, that means that class also considered those days as in the Sudra class. But that is not important. See, the classifications are made only to identify themselves in the class, the particular class, so that they can tailor their nature with the particular status and do the work and then progress themselves spiritually, advance themselves spiritually. That was the idea, not that to undermine someone's position or over exaggerate another one's position. No, that was not the idea. Idea was, okay, you're born in the Brahmana family, it doesn't mean you're a Brahmana. You need to practice, you need to show the qualities of Brahmana, and then yes, your Brahmana will accept. So that was the condition, or that was the position in Vedic days. But these days, first of all, Brahmana or Kshatriya, it looks like it don't exist anymore, even though it does still exist to a minute degree, but it looks like it's not there anymore. So whatever the status, we don't need to worry about it. We just need to stick to, because for Krishna consciousness, for the soul, it doesn't have the gender, male or female. It doesn't have any other qualifications like Grahastha, Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, or anything like that. The soul is simply Jivera Swarabhavai Krishnera Nityada, simply a servant of Krishna eternally. That's the only qualification or quality of the soul. We get confused, so that's why Krishna has given Chaturvarna Maya Shishram Guna Karma Vibhahasha. So he has given this all so that we are pacified. Okay, let's just focus on that then. Okay, or am I a Brahmana? Okay, at least I tailor myself in a Brahmanical qualities and advance in spiritual, purify myself, elevate myself, like that. So, eighth verse I'll read. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. We already discussed this point, correct? You can't just sit down and think I'm gonna do nothing. You can't do that. We already discussed that. Walking, standing, everything is activity. One cannot refrain oneself from working. In fact, Krishna is recommending to work. Do your prescribed duty. You're a mother, do work, whatever your motherly duties are, just do it. If you're a father, just do your fatherly duties. So you cannot renounce yourself from your prescribed duties, Arjuna, then it is a sin. Then only you'll go to hell. Because in second chapter he was saying, oh, I might go to hellish planet because I'm killing people. I don't want to do this activity. I'm just going to the forest. But Krishna is now, uh, refuting and telling, no, if you don't do the work, that's when you will go to hellish planet because you're not doing the duty. So it is a sin. Understand? So we stop here, 8th verse. Any questions? Alright then, if no questions,